And so let me know in the comments section. I cannot wait to read your answers. I want to find out, are most people on Coach Greg's side or Nick's strength and power? Coach Greg, and in today's video, Chris Bumstead, the C-Bum, is the most famous bodybuilder of all time. Or at least that's what Nick's strength and power says. And so in today's video, I'm going to react to what he says, and we're going to see, do I agree or disagree? In case you didn't know, Chris Bumstead recently hit 10 million followers on Instagram. Absolutely mind-blowing, well-deserved, and over 2 million followers on YouTube. And so we're going to see, is he in fact the most popular of all time? And if so, why or why not?
Just a few days ago, he hit 10 million followers. Let's think of some of the biggest names we can think of in or outside of bodybuilding.
And so the only IFBB Pro bodybuilders who are even close to Chris have long since been retired. Kai Green coming in second place, over 7 million followers, followed by Ronnie Coleman, over 5 million, Jay Cutler, over 4, and Phil Heath, 3.9 million followers.
And then if we go over to Chris Bumstead's open bodybuilding counterpart, the current Mr. Olympia and Open, Big Ramy.
But what about Big Ramy, the open class Mr. Olympia? 4.2 million followers. And so if you're saying, who is the most popular bodybuilder right now? It has to be Chris Bumstead. But if Chris is in fact the most popular bodybuilder of all time, there's one name we need to bring up, and that is Arnold Schwarzenegger. And so if you're asking me who is the most famous bodybuilder of all time, well, Chris has his work cut out for him. Arnold Schwarzenegger, the man, the myth, the legend, over 20 million followers. And so until Chris becomes a famous actor or perhaps continues to win multiple Olympia titles, he can't be compared to Arnold Schwarzenegger, at least not yet.
I think the main reason is his relatability. I think more people want to look like Chris Bumstead than want to look like Big Ramy, Kai Green.
And so as Nick says, it's his relatability, and he has a more desirable physique. Fewer people want to look like the open class Mr. Olympia, Big Ramy. He's more aesthetic and has a more desirable physique. Not to mention his age. He's in his early 20s.
They want to look like Chris. They don't want to look like a men's open bodybuilder. They want to look like a classic guy. They want to be aesthetic.
The guy is blessed with the best genetics. From the neck down, looks amazing, neck up. Guy could still be a model. And so, of course, 10 million followers. Everyone wants to look like Chris Bumstead.
They also want to have the crazy amount of views that Chris gets. I think he's got more views than any other pro bodybuilder on YouTube.
Well, there is this other pro bodybuilder, and he recently got 500 million views. We're not going to mention who he is, and so he has more views than Chris Bumstead, but that doesn't mean he's more popular. This guy, he puts out like 2 videos a day. Not sure why he would put all that. Screams like a parrot from Aladdin, but let's not go with that. And so it's not about how many views you're getting, it's about how popular you are.
I think Chris Bumstead has the biggest reach and the largest mainstream appeal of any IFBB pro that has existed since Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yes, exactly. Since Arnold Schwarzenegger. You just said it. Arnold is still the king, and I'm not saying that Chris could never surpass that, but at this moment in time, Chris is still second to Arnold Schwarzenegger himself. And the majority of people following social media, Instagram, YouTube, and so on are younger people. People in their 70s, like my father, who was born on the same day. Literally, they were born on the same day. They're the same age. They don't follow Instagram. They're not watching YouTube videos. They're not liking and subscribing and going on their channel and saying, oh, what's Arnold up to?
Arnold wasn't really a mainstream character until he left bodybuilding for Hollywood. Granted, he did come back and compete again in 1980 after he had some success in Hollywood.
And so imagine just how much harder it was for Arnold. In the 70s and 80s, there was no Instagram. There was no YouTube. You couldn't promote yourself. Arnold had to go out and do it all himself. I'm going to stop competing in the Mr. Olympia, and I'm going to pursue acting. I'm going to move to the United States. Imagine the perseverance, the dedication, the confidence it took to be Arnold freaking Schwarzenegger.
Has Chris surpassed Arnold Schwarzenegger in terms of who is the most popular bodybuilder? An emphasis on bodybuilder.
And listen, I'm obviously biased. I grew up watching Arnold Schwarzenegger in Predator, Conan the Barbarian, and so on. Could not believe the physique. I want to look like Arnold. And so to this day, whether you're young or old, you still respect Arnold Schwarzenegger. You've still seen his movies. And so Arnold has set the bar so high that even Chris Bumstead, as popular as he is, he's still only half of where Arnold is. That is mind-blowing, and I'm sure if you ask Chris Bumstead and say, Chris, are you more popular than Arnold? He's going to say, of course not. Maybe one day, maybe. But right now, Chris is the second most popular bodybuilder of all time, which is absolutely amazing. I'm not shitting on Chris here. I'm just being logical. I'm making sense.
He's in his 70s. He's competed in countless movies. He's been in blockbusters. He was governor of California. He has been a household name for 5 decades.
And so we can't just put a guy who's won 3 titles and has 10 million followers and say he's more popular. Frankly, it's a lot easier to be famous and popular now. Look, it's Coach Greg. I don't have an amazing physique. I have over 1 million followers. Think of it, just little old me.
If social media were around in the 1970s and you were right in the middle of Arnold's career, I guarantee you 10 million people would not know who he was yet.
And so yes, I'll give him that. At the same age, Chris Bumstead, more popular than Arnold, but you have to look at Arnold's life work. All the Mr. Olympia titles he's won, 7, coupled with the fact that he's been in multiple blockbuster movies, and even to this day, in his 70s, still has over 20 million followers. And so just think of it. Imagine how hard it is for a guy that old to get that many followers. Truly remarkable. Arnold is still the man, still the king of bodybuilding. Perhaps Chris will catch up one day, but not right now.
So I want you to imagine for a second that Arnold had never acted in a movie. He had never became governor of California. He was only known for his bodybuilding achievements, his 7 Mr. Olympia titles.
Well, that's a ridiculous comparison. Well, if Arnold Schwarzenegger hadn't been the governor and hadn't been in any movies, would he be more popular, more famous than Chris? No. But what about Chris? If Chris didn't have Instagram, didn't make YouTube videos, didn't say he's more savage than last time, didn't do anything on social media, would Chris be more famous? Of course not. And so Chris may not be in any blockbuster movies, but he's been seen by nearly 200 million people doing YouTube videos, which is kind of like a short movie. And so when you're on YouTube and you're making videos, it's kind of like you're an actor. People are watching you. And so the reason Chris has so many followers is because every single day posts a picture, video of himself, and so people are clicking and watching. They like what they see. They follow him. Arnold Schwarzenegger, he had to act for a year, get into a movie.
Now, I will say, if he wants to keep this momentum going, I do think he needs to keep winning in order to maintain this train that he's got going.
And so how do we really measure success? Is it by the number of titles that you've won in bodybuilding? The number of followers on Instagram? The amount of views you have on YouTube? How much money you made? But if you compare all these measures of success, Arnold has more followers than Chris Bumstead. How many titles? Arnold has more titles than Chris Bumstead. And so regardless of which category you use, I choose all of them. Arnold's still coming out on top.
But Arnold's big fame wasn't really while he was a bodybuilder. He was famous in bodybuilding circles while he was competing in bodybuilding.
Arnold paved the way for all current bodybuilders by bringing it to the mainstream. When Arnold was competing back in the 70s, it wasn't cool, it wasn't popular. He then was on pumping iron and everyone wanted to bodybuild. Everyone wanted to join the gym to get the muscles to look like Arnold. Also, I would bet every single C-Bum fan, that's right, all of them, if you ask them, do you know who Arnold Schwarzenegger is? They'd probably say, yeah, I heard of that guy. But in comparison, if you ask every single Arnold Schwarzenegger fan, do you know C-Bum? Not all of them are going to say, yeah, I know that guy. Classic physique, Mr. Olympia champion.
Later that same evening.
Okay, so Allie just returned from work, and I said, so babe, who's the most famous bodybuilder of all time? And so what did you say?
I said Arnold Schwarzenegger.
And so I said, what about Chris Bumstead?
I said no one like in the older generations knows who Chris Bumstead is. The younger generation who are into bodybuilding, yes, but he didn't do anything other than bodybuilding. And so the masses aren't going to know who he is. Other countries, but everybody knows Arnold Schwarzenegger, period.
And so when I go down south, what do people say?
Hey, Rambo. Hey, Arnold.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so if you actually say who's the most famous and you're looking at all ages, it's Arnold. Old
Hands
people
down.
don't know C-Bum. I don't even know if my parents would know C-Bum.
Of
Hey, Dad, you know
course they
Chris
wouldn't.
Bumstead?
No, of course they would not.
But do you know Arnold?
Yeah,
Everybody knows
obviously.
Arnold. So yeah, if you ask teenagers and people in their 20s,
who follow bodybuilding, that's it.
they'll say C-bum. But like overall, over the past
Is this
50
even a debate?
years, Nick in Strength and Power said Arnold Schwarzenegger not as popular as Chris Bumstead. And I'm like,
Yeah, man, he got that way wrong.
yeah, and we're both fans of C-bum, so we're not hating.
Yeah,
we're just
no.
being
Oh my gosh.
realists here.
Yeah.
And so let me know in the comments section. I cannot wait to read your answers. I want to find out, are most people on Coach Greg's side or Nick's Strength and Power? Hope you liked the video. Ending it here. Interested in HCLT supplements? Please use code GREG, 10% off. Go to gregdoucette.com or HCLTsubs.com. Don't forget about the training book, the cookbook, the Circle Diet book, coaching plans by me and the team. Also, please watch one of these bloops. You gotta watch one. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment for the algo. And until next time, I am out.